Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I have a character straight out of Woody Allen's Central Casting. This is the intellectual par excellence. This individual taught at Harvard. This individual shall show up in any given clip of a Woody Allen movie and express his opinion about a list of different English poets in airy, poetic language, as though anyone cared and as though it mattered. Now, that having been said, I love this guy. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with him, but I'm sure that some of my opinions are far too abrasive for him. He doesn't mind modern poetry, for example, and I think that it is nihilistic. So, we diverge on some of our opinions. He will read anything at all, even Maya Angelou, E.E. Cummings, you name it, and try to take it as seriously as possible. So that is unfortunate. But what I like about the guy is he can read a poem from the 1600s or 1700s and take it seriously and chew on it and love it and set it back down and say, gosh, that was nice, which is a rare skill nowadays. So let me let you get him characterized for you. So when you're done listening to the next 90 seconds, this Dr. Adam Walker, previously of Harvard University, will be a character in your mind, and very little about him will surprise you after you see the next 90 seconds.
Next is John Keats, the poet of the ear, the soft-conch'd ear, the worshipper of beauty and the worshipper of psyche. His poetry just sings. Take it off the shelf. Let it loose upon the air, and you'll find your heart filled with the most intoxicating sounds and images. Keats is amazing. Keats is, in terms of sound, superlative. In terms of structure, Shelley is superlative. In terms of correctness, Byron is superlative. In terms of deep feeling and high philosophical thought, Wordsworth is superlative. In terms of criticism, Hazlitt's superlative. He's not on this list. In terms of imagination theory, Coleridge is superlative. In terms of prophecy, William Blake is superlative. That should give you an overview of the Romantics. So now,
that should give you an overview of Dr. Adam Walker. So now let's discuss his proposal for a new Renaissance. He says we should have a new Renaissance, or are having a new Renaissance. Let me give you just a quick rundown. The printing press caused havoc because people printed a whole bunch of stuff and there was a bunch of knowledge available. Social media is causing havoc because now you can sort of get in this group on YouTube and study, or wherever, and study these English texts, which used to be difficult to get to. Even if you studied these English texts at university, you didn't necessarily study them with a really true knowledgeable professor who could tell you the meaning of some of the conversations going on in these pieces. So you might read them with some flimsy professor, and not get as much out of them as you could. Whereas, if we're going to get in groups of 5 and 10,000 on YouTube, we're going to be able to get some pretty deep reading done. So he sees a renaissance coming in that way. So now let's go to this lady, Dalby Books, and let's hear what she has to say. Now, up to this point in the video, we're 14 minutes and 3 seconds in. Up to this point, I agree with materially almost everything she says. She even says, look, we're in America, it's our culture, we should study things in, the English canon because America. It's here at 14:03 that she goes a little off, so let's listen to her a bit.
I think that Adam's suggestion of let's not go back during this Renaissance time and just go back to the old stuff. Let's create something that is a blending. So we do have our roots, our heritage, we do have that, but we're also giving ourselves that room to incorporate the new stuff. So, and I think that's exactly right. Exactly right. Whereas before, it leaned towards white male authors with maybe a smattering of female authors. The canon that we would bring to the fore now would include them, but also all those diverse voices from everywhere, um, from all ethnicities and races and genders. We all have something to offer. We all are part of this Western culture.
Well, there we have it. That is the ruin of the English department right there. She wants to revive the English department. She wishes the English department hadn't disappeared under a heap of postmodernist, feminist, lesbian literature. But when we rebuild it, we've got to make sure we include the lesbians and the postmodernists. So apparently we're not out of the woods yet, ladies and gentlemen. If Dr. Adam Walker is also on the boat to get lesbians and everybody else included. Now look, you might say, oh, come on, Mr. Cropper, there is some stuff since the 1700s that's been written that's good enough to include. Okay, fair enough, and since the 1800s and the 1900s. Okay, there is. But you are going to, bury the good stuff under a pile of garbage if you're going to let E.E. Cummings in. So you've got to have some way to decide that something's good and that other things are not as good. And there was yellow journalism in the 1700s, in the 1800s. There were crappy novels written for perverts that were sold for in the equivalent of dime stores. So that literature hasn't been saved or come down to us. Or when you get it, you can acquire these old books and stories and stuff, and they're not good. They're not readable. They're not usable. The stuff that's made it into the English canon is the stuff that is really deep, really holds a conversation over time, deals with big ideas, as opposed to E. Cummings, the wheelbarrow, the red wheelbarrow, garbage. So we've got to have some sort of bar for it to cross, or we're just nowhere, which is where we are now. So if we're going to rebuild the English department, and we rebuild it with all the garbage that ruined it, we're really not getting anywhere at all. So I don't know if we're ready for a new renaissance, as long as people like her and Dr. Adam Walker want to rebuild the new renaissance with all of the garbage that wrecked everything to begin with.